Huawei switches, there are basically two types. One is box switches, the other is chassis switches. For box switches, we also call it fixed switches. And the chassis switch, we also call it modular switch. So for box switch, there are these types from S27, 37, 57, and 67. So because the box switch is looking like a box, so the performance is lower than the chassis switch. And this switch, they are normally used in access layer and aggregation layer. And the chassis switch, because they are big and large, has high performance, we usually deploy them in core layer and aggregation layer. So today the objectives are here, like describe S-series box switch product positioning and some cards, some characteristics of the product, and the typical applications. So first, let's see the product positioning. These are the box switches from S27 to S67. The difference is we can see the performance from S27 to 67 is become higher and higher. So S27 and 37, they are 100 megabits access. It means all the download ports are 100 megabits. And S57, all the downlink ports, they are 1000 megabits. And the 67 is 10,000 megabits. And the other difference is here, S27 is layer 2 switch, and all the other types, they are layer 3 switches. So, yes. Yes. Or competitive model. So for the Cisco switches, I'm not very familiar. How about when we finish this lecture, and I will let my colleagues to introduce those for you. Okay, thank you. So let's move on. Here are the naming rules of S-series switches. From the name, we can see first S means the switch. Then this B part means the series from 27, 37, 57, and 67. Then this C means 28 means the total ports on this switch. There are 28 ports on this switch, and including the downlink port and uplink ports. Now this TP means the uplink ports, the type of the uplink ports. The TP means the uplink ports, they are combo ports, and if this is P, means the uplink ports, there's only optical ports for the uplink ports. And next, if here is an PWR, it means this switch supports the PoE function. If there's no PWR, means doesn't support PoE function. Finally, this EI means the performance of the switch. For the switch, we have 4 types of performance. EI, the lowest performance is LI, means lightweight version. Then SI means standard version. EI means enhanced version. And the highest version is HI. So different version, their functions are different, and also performance and the price are different. So for the same series, for example here, S37, for this series, it could has 4 different versions, and those prices are different. And also we have some other parts here. This part means the downlink port. Here 24S means there are 24 optical ports for the downlink ports. If there's no this part, it means all the downlink ports, they are electrical ports. If there are, means there are some ports are optical ports. Final, this DC and AC, it means it supports DC power or AC power. And some switch, it supports a monitor port. Here, MC means it supports monitor port, monitor interface. Okay. And the product positioning is very clear that for S27, S37, because the bandwidth is comparatively lower than 57 and 67, so we always deploy 27, 37 for the access layer. And 57, all the downlink ports are 1000 megabits. So we can deploy it in access layer or aggregation layer. And 67, for 67, the downlink ports, all the downlink ports are 10,000 megabits. 10,000 megabits. So we can deploy this kind of switch in the data center. Okay, next, the product models. So this is what an S27 looks like. So the height, all the box switch, they are 1 U high. 1 U high, and this is AC power, the downlink ports, 100 megabit downlink ports, and here is the cancel port, and the 2 combo ports, the uplink ports, 2 combo ports, and 2 of them in a group. So on the rear panel, this is our the other type. Some types the power is fixed in the switch, and some types they are pluggable. The power and fan module are pluggable. And here are some parameters of S27 switches. So for 27, we can see here, it has different number of ports and different switching capacities and forwarding performance. But the dimension, no big difference. All of them are 1 U high. This latest version is S2750 series switches. For this switch, again, the downlink ports, the uplink ports are 2 optical uplink ports and 2 combo ports and 1 cancel port. For the low performance box switches, there is only cancel ports, no management port, only 57 and 67, it has management port. Some performance of this switch. So for 37, this switch is the port, 1 cancel port and others, no big difference here, because here we can see 24S. So it means this switch, it has 24 downlink optical ports and some parameters. So 57, So for 57, here we have a management port and a USB port. And all the downlink ports, they are 1000 megabits. And the performance of F57 is much larger than 27 and 37. Now the latest switching capacity and forwarding performance. The size of the packet. I'm not very sure about the size. Okay, so later I will let our R&D colleague to ask you to help you this question. Okay. The latest version of S57 is this type, S5720HI. So for this switch, no big difference, but this switch, it can support the AC function, the access controller function. So we don't need to buy an access controller to control APs. Use this switch can help us manage and control our APs. And S67, all the ports on the downlink ports on S67, 10 gigabits. So it has an industry-leading performance and provides up to 24 or 48 line speed with 10 gigabit ports. Also, we can also use it in data center to provide 10 gigabit access to servers or function as a core switch on a campus network to provide 10 gigabit traffic aggregation. Okay, and this is what it looks like. All the ports, they are optical ports. And it also supports MPLS function. Okay, next, some subcards and modules. We know that the box switch, all the ports, most of the ports, they are fixed on the switch. So only few of the types it supports the subcard. The subcard, if the port on the switch is not enough, we can insert some subcard into it. For example, this is the subcard supported by S37. It can provide 2 GE ports. For some heat dissipation, the dissipation system can be in 3 modes. The natural heat dissipation, which means there's no fan, and intelligent heat dissipation, and forcible heat dissipation. Intelligent heat dissipation, it means it can adjust the temperature, adjust the fan speed based on the temperature. And these are the fan module. Most of the switch, they support the fan module pluggable. And power modules. We know there are 2 types of power modules, AC power and DC power. But most of the power modules are AC power. If some switches support PoE function, then we need to use the PoE power modules, which is much larger than the normal power modules. And some device, they may have 24 ports or 84 or 48 ports. For different types, if we want them to provide different number of the PoE ports, we may need different number of these PoE power modules. And the stacking function. For the box switches, if one switch, the performance is not enough for our network, we can stack them together. When we stack them, we have several types. One type is using the step card, the stack card, the subcard. Insert this subcard into the switch, then use the special stack cable to stack them together, to make them like a virtual system, to make several physical devices into a virtual devices. But for now, the most popular stacking type is use the service type. Use the service port. And typical networking application. So all of these switches, it supports CLI and the web configuration. We can log into the switch through console port and through the web configuration. And the switch which support PoE, we can provide the power for APs and cameras or IP phones. And the S-series switches is used in office, SOHO, meeting campus, and a lot of scenarios. So this is intelligent stacking. Here we can see there are several box switches. We insert and stack subcard into those switches, then use the special stack cable to connect them with each other. So makes it looks like a chassis switch. One switch is like one slot. One switch is like one slot. And use this two switch as the main control board. The other switch as the backup main control board. This switch as the active main control board. All the other switches, they are like LPU, the line processing unit on the chassis switch. So the bandwidth and performance of this stacking system becomes several times of the single one. And some applications in large and medium-sized enterprise network, we can deploy S27 or 37 in the access layer. Then in the aggregation layer, we can use 57 or 67 or 77. 77 is chassis switch. Later we will introduce this kind of switch to you. 67 and 57 box switch. And the applications in data center network, we can deploy S67 here in the access layer for the server to access. Then use the Ether trunk to connect to aggregation layer. And then here we can deploy the chassis switch here, and also makes them a CSS system. Make two physical devices into one logical device. And in the core layer, we can deploy NE series routers. It's Huawei NE series routers to connect to the internet. And for chassis switch, it has a lot of slots. On those slots, we can insert the SPU card into those slots to make it support firewall function. So it will be no need to buy an extra firewall for our network. And also for the chassis switch, we can use an AC module, AC card to insert into the chassis switch. So the AC function will be integrated into the chassis switch. No need for an AC access controller. Okay, these are the introductions of box switches. Now